Cyprus did most recently also request a bailout. Unfortunately for Cyprus, a lot of what happens to the banks in Cyprus, and indeed more broadly the Cyprus economy, depends on what happens to Greece. Greece gets into trouble. Cyprus has a lot of interaction, which is close neighbor, Greece. So Cyprus is in trouble too. That's what we're seeing today. It's in some ways you might view that as a downside of globalization. The greater the ties between different countries, if one country gets into trouble, it can adversely affect other countries. Obviously what's happening in the Eurozone area affects all the European Union countries. It affects other countries around the world, including the United States. So this is a result of globalization. Of course, my view is that globalization has been beneficial in so many different ways, and it's not a call for moving in the opposite direction, decreasing the activities that involved in greater globalization, but rather realizing that sometimes countries are overexposed or too exposed to countries that may indeed get into trouble. I do think, looking back, we now know there were ample signs that indeed, if situation worsened in Greece, it could affect other countries, not just Cyprus, but some of the other European countries. So I think that's what's unfortunate. There hasn't been decisive action to calm the markets, calm investors. And the biggest enemy of well-functioning financial markets is uncertainty. And there's just been too much uncertainty because of the lack of the willingness on the part of the leadership in some of the Eurozone countries to take decisive action once and for all. And hopefully that will happen, but one cannot be sure that that indeed will be the case. A good question, obviously, to ask today, is Greece going to remain in the euro, or is it going to exit? Everything depends on the actions taken by the leadership in the European Union and the Eurozone countries. If Germany and France can agree, and other countries agree with them to take decisive action, it may be the case that indeed Greece will stay in the Eurozone area, still continue to be a member. I think everything's in the hands of the government officials in the Eurozone and European Union countries. They have to decide what to do. And obviously, what I would want to emphasize, there's politics involved in this. It's not simply a financial and an economic issue to deal with. Politics is in play with some people in some countries, Germany, for example, or maybe France, saying, look, why should we bail out these other countries or banks in other countries? If they were, in some sense, perhaps too spendthrift with the funds that are available to them, didn't use their resources properly, why should we come to their rescue? I might add that happened here in the United States in the 1980s. We had a very severe financial crisis in the savings and loan industry, an industry that was supporting housing here in our country. It turns out Texas accounted for about half of all the losses that had to be borne to essentially clean up the savings and loan mess. There were some members of Congress who introduced legislation saying Texas should be levied a high tax, basically, to help cover the cost of cleaning up the savings and loan mess. Ultimately, Congress, I think wisely, said, no, we aren't going to do that to Texas. So here, I think in the Eurozone country, to extend the analogy, the issue really comes down, who's willing to bear the risk in the Eurozone area, and who's willing to basically step up and pay for the cost of cleaning up the mess that currently exists. Is it going to be a shared responsibility, or is it going to be that some countries refuse to share going forward in dealing with the losses of these types of situations, were they to happen again, and just dump everything into the lap of a country that encounters difficulties? So I think that's a fundamental issue. Who's going to basically cover any losses? Is it going to be a cooperative effort, not unlike here in the United States, states working together with the federal government when problems occur with a common currency, or is it going to be individual responsibility without the cooperation to keep the Eurozone intact with all its current members?